let's talk about being successful. What's up, everybody? I'm Jeremy, and you're watching Morphs. This week's video, folks, I want to dive into being successful. Now, success is gonna kind of, be different for everybody. Not everybody wants the same thing out of being a breeder, being a keeper, all that. We're all gonna want a little bit different piece of the pie. Now, these are gonna be a few of the things that I think you need to keep in mind, think about, consider if you want to be successful as a breeder. So let's go ahead, dive on into this. Before we do that, folks, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Drop me a comment down below. Do you guys think I missed something? Should there have been something else I put in this list? I'm just going to do like a top 5, and they are by no means in any specific order. So let's go ahead and dive into what I think you guys need to think about if you want to be successful. Scaled Paranoia is owned and operated by Greg Klein and his wife. They're a husband and wife team that are focusing on ball pythons and western hog noses. Their 2025 ball python projects are Kikis, G-Stripe, Hypo, Mandarin, Astro, and Furrow. So make sure you head on over to Scaled Paranoia and check them out. Scaled Paranoia, let us help you get over your fear of reptiles. First things first, it's the one thing I think so many people have done wrong, and it cost them everything. Basically, they ended up getting out, and I've seen so many breeders come and go within just my short time of being a breeder. I mean, we've been breeding here since 2020. That's when we kind of got into it. That's when we started hammering down everything. It's kind of shocking and sad when you see everybody you see them come in, they're grabbing the bull by the horns, and then they just fall apart. And part of that is because they grow too fast. Growing too fast it's probably one of the most common things breeders do wrong. What I'm talking about when I'm saying this is that they get in, they start buying animals left and right, not really thinking about it. They don't have a real purpose. They're just buying everything that they see that's shiny and pretty and new. And at the end of the day, before they even get to breed those animals, half the time, they're out. Now, when you're buying these animals, you got to remember, folks, one, it's going to take 2 to 3 years if you're buying babies till they're able to breed. So if you're buying all these animals, you need to be able to sustain feeding these animals until they do in fact make you some eggs. And even when they get up to size, it's not guaranteed that they're gonna give you clutches or breed. So you've got that to contend with. You've always got to be thinking in the back of your head, about the future and how long this really does take. Because this is not a sprint, folks. This is more of a marathon than anything. You just slow and steady wins the race. Bottom line, don't grow too fast. If you start buying animals left and right, you need to make sure that you're able to feed and properly take care of those animals. And, don't skip on anything, folks. If you can't properly be taking care of these animals, don't be buying them. Make sure you take your time, do it right. And if you do that, you'll stay in this a heck of a lot longer than some other people. Make sure you check out Nathan at Infinite Possible Pythons. He is your guy to go to if you want to get into the Bang project. On top of it, he's working a bunch of awesome ball python projects. Kahua geckos, Leachianus geckos, crested geckos, some scaleless corn snakes, and he is your one-stop shop for all your branding needs. So check him out. Check out Chris Shelley over at S Reptilia if you need a high-end ball python, blood python, locality boa, or colubrid. He's also Pennsylvania's distributor of Coco to Go and the Chipper, and he can also hook you up with some rats. So make sure you guys check out Chris over at S Reptilia. Now the next thing, breeding with a purpose. And you're probably thinking, Jeremy, my purpose for breeding is just to make snakes. Maybe that is what you want to do, but let me just give you something, something to chew on, think about. What you're breeding should be making holdbacks for you. If you're not going to be making a pairing where you're planning on holding 1 or 2 or 3 animals back from that, you should probably re-examine that pairing. What you should be basically selling are all of your misses. Now, that's not saying, you can't do a 1 or 2 or a handful of, clutches that are basically just for sale show animals. Not saying you can't do that, because I even do that as well. I do some 1 or 2 banana clutches, try to do 1 bell clutch a year. Those are just basically animals that I know the public wants, that is going to, just be a little bit of income to help float the boat while everything else is, being produced, hatching, help sustain what I'm holding back. All of that just help, help the whole growth of the business. But for the most part, what you're producing, you should be going for holdbacks. And like I said before, what you're selling should be your misses. You should not be trying to produce, say, let's just say you've got a Batman male. You should not be trying to produce just a Batman again. You've already got the Batman. You don't need to make another Batman. Try to breed that animal to something else that's going to add another gene to it or another recessive to it. Something that builds your projects and keeps you moving forward. If you don't keep moving forward, you will become stagnant. You'll become left in the dust, basically. And, you're going to start making lower end stuff. Even though to you, it might be, exactly what you wanted to make. But it's low. It's going to be stuff that everybody else is making at that point, which then drives prices down and leaves you to, possibly have the fire sale stuff, basically. So always be trying to think of, what can I add to make this animal better, to make more holdbacks for me. Think towards the future. Breed with a purpose. Don't just breed to breed. Always breed to improve and push your projects and your business further. Stop wasting time trying to prove out animals or taking chances on possible hets or genes you don't know that are there. Head on over to Charlie at Gray Rider Reptiles and ShedTesting.com for all of your shed testing needs. He's fast, accurate, and adding new tests on a regular basis. So head on over to ShedTesting.com and check him out. Make sure to use the code CARPET15 for 15% off of your shed test order. Use nothing but the best at ShedTesting.com. The next thing, recessives. Recessives are a must, folks. If you are going at this from that breeder mentality, you have to be working those recessives into these projects. It's where the future is. The double, the triple, the quads. You've got to take your time working them, and you've got to do them properly, or you kind of end up taking a step back by going too fast and too hard into, say, hitting the quad recessive, but you didn't do the due diligence of working other genes into that quad recessive. So you've got to go about it a certain way. But you definitely need to make sure that you are working with these recessive projects, just because I've talked to a lot of people at shows, and when I'm, asking them what they're looking for, or what are they interested in, what projects they're working with, it's kind of alarming how many people that want to be breeders or are breeders, they're not doing anything at all with recessives into their projects. They're wanting to make, 2, 3, maybe even 4 gene combos, but there isn't a single recessive in the mix. I've even asked them, well, what are your main recessives that you're working with? And they listed off a whole bunch of genes. Not one of them was a recessive. So maybe I need to do a video on what recessives are and why they're so important and valuable. But anyway, you guys need to be making sure you are plugging in those recessives, because that is, that's the future. Making pretty snakes is awesome and it's fun, But if you're going at this from a business and that breeder standpoint, you've got to be basing everything around recessives. You know, my suggestion, pick 3 recessives. Pick 3 that work good together. So that way, as you're breeding and you're doing these projects, for instance, me, Exantic, DG, Clown, Exantic Hypo Clown, you know, I've picked all recessives that go great with Exantic. So pick, you know, your 3 favorite recessives that work great together and run with it. But make sure you are working with those recessive projects, because you got to think about it like this. Every time you miss on making that visual, you're making a head. Or at least, hopefully, you're making a head. You might be making some possets. So at least if you're working with a visual on one side, whether it be the mom or the dad, at least if you have a visual on one side, you're at least making het somethings that are going towards progressing a project, which also makes your miss a little bit more valuable on the resale end, just because someone else might be looking for that gene, that combo, with that het, clown, exantic, whatever recessive project you're working with. Recessives, folks, make sure you have them in there, work them, and enjoy. Staying focused. Staying focused is probably the other thing that leads to more people getting out of the industry and hobby than anything. Now, by staying focused, what I'm talking about is don't buy every pretty snake you see. Have a little self-control. Have some vision. Where do you want to be? What projects do you want to be working with? What do you want to produce? What is your end goal animals to make? If you have that focus, you're not going to be buying every, little shiny thing basically that you see. I see so many animals I would love to buy, especially from some of my friends. Like John and Christina are there at Triforce. My buddy Nate over at Infinite Possible Pythons, every time I'm with them and I'm looking at what they're producing and making, it's so hard to not just do impulse buys. Every time I've always got to ask myself, do I really, 1, need that animal? 2, can I really use it? Like, is it really going to be pushing what I want to make as my end goals for animals? Is it going to be pushing those things further and making things better? A lot of times, the answer is no. Why? It's not a diss on them by any means. Why does some of their stuff not push my end goals any further? The reason is because none of them work TSK Exantic. Everything ball python wise that I'm doing here is solely based around TSK Exantic. Yes, I have some clown projects, a little bit of pod stuff. I do have some other projects, but my main focus is TSK Exantic. So if it's not going to help progress my TSK Exantic projects that much further, I'm not making those purchases. Now, I have bought stuff from them, yes, to go into TSK Exantic. But I also made those purchases from them, 1, because the quality of the animals. You can't beat them. But the other thing is because with TSK Exantic, there's not a whole lot of, combos out there on the market available. A lot of the stuff, unlike VPI, where everybody's working VPI, you've got a wide variety and selection of what's, genetic options. There's not as many people doing TSK. So that means more than likely, depending what project you want to work on and what direction you want to head, you've actually got to outsource those genes and put it in yourself, because not everybody has the combos available on the market for you to buy. So sometimes you do have to take the hard road, but staying focused is the big thing, folks. Like I said, if it's not going to progress your projects any further, don't do it. Bottom line. It sucks. I know. Not saying you can't have fun with everything. This is solely, like I said, focused towards being successful and staying in. More people have gotten out of the hobby that I have dealt with, talked to, interacted with, because they just bought everything. They got overwhelmed. Stay focused. Please. Head on over to Triforce Morphs if you're looking for that missing piece in your ball python breeding project. While you're there, add a little bit of lace or citron to the mix, folks. John and Christine can also hook you up with the crested gecko, so don't forget that. Turn up the heat with Triforce Morphs. If you want to use the best reptile record keeping and tracking software on the market today, scan the QR code or click our partnership link in the description down below for a free 30-day trial of Husbandry Pro. I promise you, you will not regret it. Last and definitely not least, and this kind of a little bit contradicts the staying focused thing, being diversified in your collection. I just did a video on this the other week about, diversity and how I think it's important to be diverse in your collection. Why am I telling you to be diverse in your collection when I'm telling you to stay focused, don't make unneeded purchases, don't buy every pretty thing you see? It's because that diversity, one, makes you stand out amongst the crowd. You guys always get to see the carpets behind me. You got a big old Xander right there. You got the gelatin up there and shed. You got some of the other holdbacks that we've made here. That diversity, one, makes you stand out amongst the crowd a little bit. Gives you a little bit more of a selection for customers to pick from. Not everybody wants ball pythons. Not everybody's going to want boas or carpets. Now, I think it's important that, one, you've got that focus species, say ball pythons. Most popular snake on the market basically right now at this point. But I also think you need to have that secondary species, whether it be carpets, boas, hog noses, whatever, geckos, crested geckos, have a little, variety, diversity in what you're working with and selling. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's what my dad always told me. Don't put your eggs in one basket. And you know what, folks? The man is right. Because a lot of people have put their eggs all in one basket right now in the ball python and hobby and industry are feeling some hurt. Why? Because right now, there's that many people that wanted to get rich quick doing ball pythons. And because ball pythons are so freaking easy to breed, basically, that everybody's jumped on the bandwagon, started making a crap ton of ball pythons, and now the market is essentially flooded. And it's just because, one, people were making a bunch of the same stuff, bought a whole bunch of low-end animals, and basically didn't have that vision to strive on to make better stuff with that. They just thought they'd, breed $200 snake to $200 snake and thought that, hey, we'll make a $400 snake. That's not exactly how it works, folks. A lot of times when you make when you breed two $200 snakes, you make more $200 snakes or some $50 snakes. So, that's kind of what happened. That's what we're experiencing right now. We're feeling that pinch from, just too many people. I don't want to say, I hate saying because it seems like I'm trying to push people out. But it was just a bunch of people that got in, trying to get rich quick, didn't succeed in what they thought was going to happen because they thought it was going to be an easy buck. And doing this is anything but easy, folks. Like, honest to God, it's not. You've got to want to do this. You've got to have that passion and that drive. But a lot of people made a whole bunch of stuff, having problems moving that stuff. So they start fire sailing everything. Prices have plummeted. It hurts to see what some of these animals and projects have gotten to. It hurts sometimes to see this stuff. But if you've got some diversity in your collection, you can weather this storm and any other storm that comes across. Right? Today it's ball pythons. Next year, it might be carpet pythons. It might be hognoses. It might be crested geckos. If you've got that diversity, you can weather those storms because when one species is on the decline of, popularity or just the market got flooded with them, another species might not be, taking quite the amount of hit that other species is taking. Sometimes if it's, economics, they all take a hit. But the main thing is having that diversity allows you to kind of, give your audience a little bit of this and a little bit of that and maybe they don't want a ball python, but they want a killer carpet python, or maybe they don't want a carpet and they want something like, hey, a green tree python, maybe, you know. It's just, you gotta have a little bit of options for other people. Plus, you as a breeder, it allows you to enjoy yourself a little bit more. I enjoy working with the other stuff. I actually probably enjoy working with the other stuff a lot more than I do the balls, just because I choose species that are very interactive. They don't just kind of sit there in a box and look like a lump on a log. You know, they actually interact with you, and like there's stuff going on, like Xander there. You see Xander out right there. You know, part of the reason why I love the carpets, they're out, they're moving. Like when I came in earlier today, he was watching me hardcore. But anyway, I could keep on rambling on about this. I just wanted to go over the 5 things that I think lead to being successful in this hobby and industry. Hopefully, you guys agree. And if you don't, if there's something that you think I missed, drop it in the comments for me. I would love to hear what your thoughts are as to, you know, maybe I should have put this in and not that. Drop it in the comments. Let me know. Also, folks, do me a favor. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. Drop me a comment down below, like I said. Check out the channel members, please. Link for the channel membership is in the description down below. Check out the channel sponsors. Greatly appreciate their love and support. The other thing is, don't forget to check out Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Inside the Coils, our live stream. It's always a fun time on there. And don't forget to check out my links as well in the description down below. Under my link tree, you know, you go to the incubator. See what we've got cooking up, guys. There's a couple killer clutches in there that one's due to hatch really soon, and I'm super excited because it is by far the most expensive and valuable clutch I've hatched to date. So super excited to see how that one, you know, turns out. But go check out the incubator, see what animals I have available. I still have that one killer jungle male available. If he doesn't go, I'm not going to cry about it because he's just phenomenal. But he's out there, folks. If you want a beautiful jungle male, he's got a little bit of an attitude to him, but he'll snap out of it. But again, he is up there. He was a holdback. So for those people that love to try to snag holdbacks, there he is. Don't let him sit too much longer. But that's going to be it, folks. Greatly appreciate all the love and support. And I will catch you next time. Later.